Good morning, everyone. Welcome in. How you doing? We are live. It is Wednesday morning. It is cold as hell out. We are, we're freezing. As you can see, I have my kitty blanket on. Oh, we're right now. Oh, you guys gotta calm down. You guys gotta calm down. Alrighty. What is going on, everybody? Rest of the year. Trying to share the links here real quick. Get them out to everyone. Oh, Tiny got tired of fighting for a spot, huh? It has not been a smooth morning. We're just gonna leave it at that. The coffee pot decided it wanted to go crazy and overflow, even though there was nothing in it. Um, yeah. I'm getting ahead of myself here. So how's everyone doing? I see 4 people on here. Welcome in. Hopefully you are doing well. We want to see you all doing well. There, huh? There. I've got 5 cats on my lap at the moment. The 6th one is over on. What did I do there? Okay, yeah, 6%. The 6th one is in the bassinet over there. Tanner, over here, Bubby. Oh, nope. No, they said screw you, Tanner. You're off the island, pal. They just threw his ass right off. That wasn't very nice. No, it wasn't. All right, one last thing here. Facebook. Hey, Thomas. Well, we're not too far above you, but we're coming in about 36, 34, somewhere in there.
Uh-oh. The Sasquatch is all bundled up.
He is. I got video of the frost on the ground out here.
Nice.
And the Sasquatch also has a heating pad under him.
Good morning, everybody.
The Sasquatch, my chair is mesh on the bottom.
Yeah.
So the air just comes right up through.
Oh, that's never good.
Yeah. And here comes Life flying back over again. Oh my. They are really low this morning. Let's see. Well, I can feel them vibrating me already. And they are
usually have to pay extra for that.
Away, right? They're at 22,375 feet, moving at 124 knots in a Eurocopter.
Hey, Thomas. How you doing, buddy? Doing good this morning?
We're all alive, so it's a plus, hopefully.
Made it through court yesterday. Of course, I can't discuss the case, but I can say that apparently I did so well on the witness stand, I got a compliment from the DA's office.
Very nice.
I was surprised, honestly. I mean, I completely zoned in to what was happening. I was very nervous before. Very nervous. I will confess, I was nervous as all heck. I didn't know what I was so afraid of. I was just nervous as hell. But once I got into it, no problem. Just answer the questions. And watch out for lawyers trying to ask you the same question multiple times. They will do that.
I'll just try and change the wording a little bit to try and trip you.
Oh, yeah. Just keep the truth consistent and tell only the truth. Believe me. You get up there, it is a bit intimidating. Having been on the inside of a witness box for the first time in my life. And I got a police escort to and from. So that was nice. I just told him, you know what, I can't physically get down there. You know, I don't have a car right now. And they're like, the DA asked, if I sent a police officer for you, would you be ready? I'm like, I am ready right now. I called you at like 10 after 8, trying to get a hold of you, let you know that, yeah, I don't have transportation, but I am very, very willing to be there. They're like, all right. And just a couple of minutes later, I got a ride in the front seat of a police car. That was fun.
Front seat?
Yep.
Wow.
Front seat service. I told him it was the second time I got to sit in the front seat of a police car. That one I can tell you about. I was 8 years old. And we were doing the neat thing for Cub Scouts, where they go pick up litter and stuff. And the village decided to thank us by giving us pizza. So one of the officers that I knew pretty well, he'd been officer friendly at our school. He said, well, Cal, do you want to come with me and pick up the pizza? I'm like, I'd love to help, sir. So I got a ride in the front seat of a police car, and he didn't realize it, but he had the directional, I don't know, some police cars had this back in the 90s, not all of them, but they used to have this bar right below the main light bar that was a series of arrows that would show drivers behind them which way they wanted them to move themselves. Like, if they were stopped, like in the middle of a road for a car accident, they would have that light bar to tell the drivers to go this way or that way, one way or another, just by looking at the bar. Okay, it's just like one of those road signs for construction. The arrow tells you where they want you to direct yourself. I haven't really seen any police cars with that light bar since, but he left his directional bar on, so he was kind of wondering why everybody was zooming around him to one side. I didn't even realize it was on. I just thought that the ticking, blinking lights on the console were just to tell the police officer that the vehicle was working. So I didn't say anything. And then he realized, like, oh, crap. Well, it's too late to turn them off now. I'll just wait till we get there. It'll look kind of weird if I just shut them off in the middle of the drive. So that was fun. I remember we picked up these huge pizzas. The village had called ahead and gotten party-sized pizzas, the really, really big ones. You see it like a football game or something.
24-ounce, 24-inch ones.
Yeah, that was wonderful. I was able to eat 6 slices. Everybody was like, "Does he have a stomach? Is it just a black hole in there?" Y'all know I am a fiend for pizza. So, well, and the only thing I can say, Thomas, is the case has been continued until December 4th. We only got about halfway through. That's all I can really
Fred.
say. It's a Fred. Hi, Fred. How you doing this morning? I'm in a good mood because I managed to make it through court and get a compliment from the DA's office for how well I performed on the witness stand. Just goes to show you, you get yourself a nice background raising in politics. Keep the sword sharp if you need it. Just, it is some dirty-ass business.
Now.
And politics and law are a dirty-ass business. Ain't no angels in there. No angels in there. The best thing you can do is just make sure you have decent skills to verbally defend yourself. Yeah, I heard about that too, but I haven't gotten any really concrete information, Thomas. From what I did hear, it was Defense Secretary Austin that issued the order or issued the memorandum or whatever it is. I mean, at this point, we all know that we don't really have a president, so we can kind of assume that each department is kind of operating under its own set of rules. It's entirely possible Austin is thinking, there's going to be something really bad happening around the election, and he just wants to cover his bases vis-a-vis, we all know that if things really do go south, there's going to be some very angry exchanges of metal at high velocity. Hey, how you doing this morning?
What's up, Cal? Chris?
I survived court with compliments from the DA's office for my performance on the witness stand.
Very cool, my brother. Glad to hear that.
Oh, it was stressful, let me tell you. I was wishing some of you guys would be in the gallery to support me. I'm all by myself out there, but it was fine. It was fine.
Yeah, it might not have panned out too well for you, though. I don't know.
Actually, it panned out better than I thought. The DA thought that I did a very good job.
I think you might be with us being in the gallery. We would have been hooting and hollering, acting a fool, probably.
Yeah, the judge would have said something. Are you fucking stupid, you asshole?
Actually, our judge.
Are you related to Joe Biden or what?
Actually, our judge, I've got to give this man props. I have been in his courtroom about 4 or 5 times now for various stuff, mostly related to my mother's estate. He is incredibly fair. He is a very nice man. He is a gentleman in the classic sense. And while he is very fair and sharp with the law, he tempers that with an understanding for human suffering. I mean, you break the law, you're going to jail, but at the same time, it's like, you know what? Maybe you can use this as a learning experience, sir.
Yeah.
He's fair, but he's not what you would call harsh. He is honestly, and he is so unbiased. Like, we could put this guy on the Supreme Court and he would piss both sides off because he would be just so straight down. Okay, this is what the law says. This is black and white. This is all I'm ruling on. I'm not ruling on party. I'm not ruling on influence. I'm not ruling on bias. This is what the law says.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
So I got to give, I respect our local judge very much.
Good deal. Like glad to hear that.
But anyway, Thomas brought up an interesting point. He heard a nasty rumor that the military was authorized to use deadly force. Now, the one thing I do want to bring up, no matter how this order may have been issued or who from, I suspected it was Defense Secretary Austin, who is a little bit of a weirdo, but whatever. They're all weirdos, but that's beside the point. Austin, I think, is trying to cover his ass because he thinks there's going to be problems after the election, no matter who wins, no matter who loses. And he's basically trying to do an end run around Posse Comitatus. And you have to realize the 1878 Posse Comitatus Act basically forbade federal troops from being deployed against American citizens. It did, however, permit the National Guard or state militias to be used by the local governors to suppress riots and quell civil unrest. Federal troops, however, are never authorized to do such a thing. Austin doing...
That's the general consensus
Yeah,
with the people I followed, you know.
Yeah.
Either way, gonna be a shit show.
Oh yeah, there's going to be a shit show no matter who wins, no matter who loses. I mean, even if Austin, I know from what I know of him, he is a complete weasel. He is so waffly, the man should have tracks all over his face from it, and carry around a bottle of syrup. That is how much of a waffle he is. Now, that being said, Austin has probably had some dirty dealings in the past, and he's probably hoping to escape whatever vile and very most likely judicious punishment may be coming down should Trump win. Ergo, he would issue such an order, and then if the civil unrest begins on the left side, he'll do the absolute bare minimum. He'll have the gate guards at all the bases and depots and stuff armed and ready. So if you attack the depot, they're just, hey, you know what? I'd issued an order to allow them to defend themselves. I didn't take any further steps. Now, on the other hand, if for some reason the cheat is in and we do somehow manage to lose, even though I'm currently thinking we're going to get something like 325 electoral votes, possibly. If we somehow manage to lose by a cheat or whatever else, then Austin can go to his masters and say, look, I signed this order a month in advance. I was ready. Direct me, master, and I shall do thy bidding. This is honestly Austin playing the field. This is what I'm seeing. And it could go bad for either side. Because if he deploys them operationally against... if he was going to deploy them operationally against American citizens, that's illegal. That's illegal. But if he does it and the left wins, it's different. So he could do that, get away with it. And, there's just going to be some bitching and kvetching in court, and that's about it. He might get some, you have to pay for some property damage or whatever. It's not going to be a big deal. And then we're going to have a boot on our throat for the rest of our lives. But like I said, on the other hand, if Trump wins, he's covering his butt also, and he'll just do the absolute bare minimum, and then he'll look at Trump and say, see, I was a good boy. Please don't send me to jail or the hangman's noose or whatever the hell I've earned. And, this could go further if we win, but they disenfranchise Trump anyway, by some method, nullification in Congress, starting a war, whatever the hell else. Just do 1,000,001 things that could happen between November 5th and January 20th. Austin has also covered his butt in another way, because if his masters make it clear that they will not allow Trump to get into office one way or another, then Austin issuing this order is also covering his butt by saying, you know what, we were prepared for this, and now we will quash a potential civil war by ordering federal troops to take over National Guard depots in the affected areas of civil unrest. And this is only for the protection of federal property, blah, blah, blah. There's 1,000,001 ways this could be spun. These are just the ones off the top of my head. But either way, if he deploys them operationally against American citizens, it would be a violation of the 1878 Posse Comitatus Act. Depending upon who wins, or rather who remains in power, this may not matter. But there you go. There's my $1.50 on the matter. As you all know, I never put in 2 cents. Another thing I wanted to bring up, it also looks like we've lost Chris. I think he's having connection issues. That's all right.
Sure.
Yeah, I think you and I can carry this, though.
I know he looked like he was doing blackface when I ran in the house real quick.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was getting just a blank. The other thing I wanted to bring up, this is another good one. A judge, McCranston, in Georgia ruled. Of course, he's been the same one on these election cases for Georgia the whole time, and he's always been ruling against the GOP. Period. He ruled that the state has to certify the election no matter if there's fraud or not. And the reason he cited is January 6th. He says he doesn't want another insurrection.
Yeah.
Which is the most ridiculous fucking thing to put in a judicial ruling. I'm ruling this way out of fear. I'm not ruling because of the law. I'm ruling because I'm scared that these evil Ganassi Yahtzees are going to take over the country.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And make it great again.
Yeah. He did it at the wrong time. He should have done this. He should have delayed his ruling as long as possible, at least another week or two, to make it impossible for us to get an emergency injunction at a higher court, which, we could play that game and we can just run out the clock. All we really need to do is file for an emergency order to stay his ruling. And as far as I know, we're jumping on that. And all we really need to do is get the order stayed until it's after the election, and then, no standing. Sorry, you have no standing. We counted the votes by hand anyway, and we verified that there was fraud, and we handled the fraud, and, well, it's over, so too bad. Too bad. And really, that's the best course of action. File the appeal, get the emergency injunction, and then try and get a trial date for the actual ruling until after the election, just to remove his order temporarily, because we are so close to the election now, and it's coming closer with every passing day, obviously, because that's how linear time works. I'm not going to get into time theory around here.
Come on, man.
I don't know. That's a rather highbrow subject, and we usually deal with the dirty politics down in the gutter.
Tick, 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 tick.
But yeah, best thing we can do is file an appeal and just get an injunction, temporary stay of the order, just long enough for us to get across the finish line. Because the main thing we need to do is need to make sure that the ballots, especially in Georgia, are hand counted for fraud prevention. It won't catch all the fraud.
It's amazing the bullshit that they're raising over that counting by hand. Oh, well, you guys don't have what? You can't count, or you don't have calculators? I mean, maybe you ought to get some fifth graders in there to help them out.
Well, give the Democrats a break. They lack at least one appendage to count with.
Yeah, a brain.
I was thinking something a little lower there, sir. They usually cut those off.
Well, yeah, it would be two appendages then. Them balls.
3.
Okay.
They just carve the whole thing off and drop it in the bucket.
Right. Like they did on Yellowstone, where he chopped that dude's shit off.
Yeah, I haven't. Everybody keeps telling me I need to see Yellowstone.
That's a good flick.
Yeah, I've got it on my list of things I want to watch after things calm down in my life and various other places, just because it looks good and I've seen clips of it, and oh my god, every time I see some of those clips, like when he deals with the rude bikers. That
was one of my favorite fucking parts.
Oh, dude. I still go and rewatch that just for a little dose of badassery.
I watch that on the YouTube Shorts if I see it, man. That is one of my absolute favorite clips from that movie.
Dig your own fucking graves. I gave you a chance to leave peacefully. Now dig your own fucking graves.
Damn straight. Yeah. He said, we'll leave. And he said, I don't want you to leave.
I want you to be my permanent guests.
Then when they take them to the railroad station and shit, that's never good. When they say they're taking you to the train station, you're not going to a train station. You're going to a valley where other people have landed, we'll say.
Men have ventured in but have not come out.
Well, they didn't venture. They more got thrown, because they weren't really conscious, Yeah. Yeah, that Beth chick, his daughter, that bitch is just straight up whacked, bro. We need her on Trump's team, but that'd get us in some legal shit. Because she's fucking, that chick is, woo, she's a firecracker and she's crazy too. That's the bad part.
I'm over here reading Andrew's comments about Tim Walz.
Yeah.
Tim Walz, the man with little balls, should be named Ballhammer Tim.
I
He's
wonder,
got,
where do they put the tampons? Where do the kids put the boys put the tampon? That's all I want to know. Like, you know, I know people that used to have bloody noses, like my brother in particular, and he'd stick a piece of paper towel up in there. And we used to laugh at him, you know, because he used to get nosebleeds pretty regularly. But yeah, I mean, what exactly do you do with them?
well, legitimately,
they need like picture one, open tampon. Picture two, you know, expose intended area. You know.
Actually, there is a legitimate medical first aid use for tampons. And this is told to me by an old ER nurse. If you have a huge wound, like we're talking,
well, okay,
the size of the orifice it would normally be put into, or just slightly smaller, and you have nothing else, and you need to staunch that bleeding before this person bleeds to death, to get them to an ER, you get yourself a tampon, insert it partway into the wound, and then inject the damn thing into there, just like you would if it was a cooter, and then wrap the wound. It will help staunch the bleeding and keep them from passing out. It'll keep them alive long enough for you to get them to an ER. Yes, you will have fibers sticking to the wound, but that is beside the point. Your point is stopping the bleeding. It can work. The only problem is that if you include that in a personal first aid kit and you have to use it, you're very likely in a very severe situation. You just might not make it to the ER if it's just you. So, you know, it's one of those life or death scenario sorts of things, but it does have a legitimate first aid use.
Yeah, I can only imagine laying there with a big old hole, bleeding, and somebody opened up a tampon. My eyes would get wide, and I'd be like, "What exactly do you plan on doing with that?"
Well, now you know what they would plan on doing with that. It could also be used to fix a car too.
Okay.
It was the same woman's husband. They had a leak in a line. I forget what it was, but it was just something was leaking really, really badly. It was just dumping all the fluids out. They had nothing to plug it up with. So they plugged it with a tampon temporarily until they get to a gas station and do a better repair.
Wow.
They basically jammed it into the hole and stuck it up there and got it all situated and taped it off. And they had to drive like 20 miles to get to a gas station, but it held together. The patch held together.
We are a resourceful species.
Yes, we are. You give us, you want to know how resourceful it is? I actually ran this experiment in real life. I got a couple of stoner friends together. They had a baggie, but they had nothing to smoke with. So I'm like, all right, well, I do not imbibe the devil's lettuce personally, but let's see what you guys can do with this. And I brought them some aluminum foil, a couple of bottles, and a pair of scissors. And I said, all right, what you going to do with that?
MacGyver.
They MacGyvered together a whole freaking bong, dude. I was impressed. And that thing worked pretty damn good.
Oh, yeah. You give a pothead weed no utensil, they will find a way to use it. Absolutely.
So,
been there, done that all, you know, many times.
Yeah, and I ran the experiment and I proved, you get a couple of stoners together, you give them something of the devil's lettuce, you give them a method to, they figure it out and smoke it yourself. Just do it. And they did.
I've even used a potato.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
A little Irish ingenuity.
Oh yeah, potato, toilet paper roll, can. Like
yes,
just,
Andrew. Yes, Andrew. God gave us a brain.
Amen.
And Yankee ingenuity has dragged us through many and sundry emergencies, both great and personal.
Many improvements to our lives came from that kind of shit too. You know.
Oh yeah.
That resourcefulness, it gets us moving, keeps us going. Yep.
Put us in a bad situation. Give us a piece of duct tape and a couple of toothbrushes and a couple of other things. We'll figure out. We'll brain it out. We will come up with something in order to fix our problem.
Yeah.
Hell, give us the right basic materials. Probably even construct a gun if we have to.
Oh yeah.
Most of us know how to make something that can combust. Of course, I can't go into the exact formulas on here because that's a no-no. But I'm just saying, especially us gun guys, You give us the basic materials. We will figure out how to make something that approximates gunpowder. We will find a pipe to put that gunpowder in, and we will find a piece of metal, hard plastic, or something else to fire out of it so that we can, end the threat that faces us, whatever it is. We will find a way.
You know what they say? Where there's a Willis, there's a way.
It's true. It's very true. And, ingenuity outside of what we should know, very good example of that, and happened right in your neck of the woods. Josh Chamberlain in Gettysburg.
All right.
Dude's a professor. He studies a lot of things. He's not a professional soldier, yet he held the extreme flank of the Union Army with very little ammunition, relatively exhausted brigade, and against a very, very determined attack by the enemy. He came up with ways to frustrate them, to hold them off, and at the very end, he called for a charge. He realized he was out of options, but he knew that his unit could do it. That is a man that was able to come up with, right at the spot, okay, we've encountered this problem. All right, we'll counter it with this solution. Counter this problem. Counter this solution.
Yep.
Again, not professionally. He did not go to West Point, but he was a professor. So he had a lot of knowledge. He just took knowledge from all different areas of his life. And he's like, I have a solution. I have a solution. And he saved the Union. He literally saved the Union with his actions. The fact that we don't have a Joshua Chamberlain Day, a holiday dedicated to that man, it's criminal. Honestly. We remember Grant, we remember Heath, we remember Hancock, we remember Reynolds, all of them. We don't really think about Josh Chamberlain too much. It wasn't until the movie Gettysburg that a lot of people didn't even know who he was.
He was in the trenches. He was in the trenches. They're the guys you don't hear about.
Yeah, and he was. I think he made it out of the war as a brigadier general of volunteers, if I recall. But at the time of his best performance, he was only a colonel. It's just like Crichton Abrams. Those of you who know me on YouTube, I have a general as my little profile picture. Oh, that's General Crichton Abrams. During World War II, he was a tank unit commander, but he was only ranked a lieutenant colonel. And he won his glory as a lieutenant colonel, doing a lot of really, really risky shit. I mean, for the longest time, Patton was always thought of as, having a mastery of tank warfare. That's only because he had Crichton Abrams running his units. Crichton Abrams was the real tactician behind tanks. He knew how to do things. He understood the limitations of the equipment that he had, and he used those limitations to his advantage. And eventually he became a 4-star general and chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, I do believe. But I've always respected him and respected his story. Again, that's ingenuity at work. You had, especially during World War II, we had the wrong idea going into the war, and by the time we started fighting, it was too late to change ideas. We always thought of, at least Bureau of Ordnance thought of tanks as being a support equipment to infantry. They didn't think of tanks fighting other tanks. Oh, no. That's a job for the anti-tank corps, for the anti-tank guns, for the mobile anti-tank guns. So we had mobile anti-tank guns like the Jackson, the Hellcat, that had high velocity guns on them designed to defeat tanks, but they had virtually no armor. One good shot from any tank would just take them right out. Shermans, they weren't much better, but it was the best that we had. The only problem is they had low velocity 75 millimeter guns that were not good at taking out tanks. Yes, they could take out all the lower ranked tanks, the weaker tanks, light tanks, some medium tanks the Germans and especially the Italians had. And hell, they were overkill against anything the Japanese had, because the Japanese are basically running around in metal boxes that were made of aluminum foil. Again, it's not their fault. Japan was fighting mostly in mountainous terrain and on islands. You don't really use tanks in those situations. They are just support vehicles there. So, you throw a gun on a truck, and that's really all you need in those kinds of situations. So the Japanese never developed a tank formation, because they never really thought that they would need a serious tank until the Americans came along with the freaking Sherman. And by the time they were able to field a medium tank, it wasn't, they were able to produce, I think, about a dozen units to completion before we dropped the A-bombs on them. But really, they never had any room. We never gave them any room when we fought them to actually deploy tanks in any numbers. So they had to make do with their little metal boxes. But the Sherman, it was just the reverse in Europe. Any serious German tank could knock out a Sherman, no problem. And the Shermans were, they really weren't proof to anything but light tank guns. And even then, high velocity 47 millimeter gun in the right spot, you wouldn't think it could penetrate, but it would, and make an awful mess on the inside. So, but Abrams understood the limitations of his armor. So he always tried to make up for that, because the Sherman could take almost every German tank they hit him from the rear, where there was virtually no armor, shoot the engine deck, or get a mobility kill, go for the treads. Don't try and shoot that armored citadel. Don't try and shoot the turret. Don't try and shoot the front glasses plate. Don't try and shoot the sides. You probably won't even penetrate there. No, try and get around to the rear. Try and shoot their treads. Knock out their ability to move. An immobile tank is nothing more than a pillbox. And at that point, if you can cause enough spalling damage on the inside of the tank from repeated hits, you don't have to worry so much about the tank gun either. You knocked out the crew. Get a mobility kill, get a crew kill. Don't worry about killing the tank itself. Shermans were fairly vulnerable. They were designed basically with pre-war anti-tank guns in mind. That was their big limitation. And, we up-armored the Sherman over time, and it got slower, more ponderous. We tried to add a better engine, return on investment, weight to power ratio, blah, 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 all that stuff. By the end, we had the Sherman Easy 8, which was a darn good tank for its day. And it even served pretty well into Korea, where, again, it was pretty much outclassed by whenever the North Koreans could get their hands on the IS series of tanks. Those things are absolute fucking monsters. They were designed to knock out King Tigers in the first place. So Shermans were, they were tissue paper. But by then, we also had the M47 Patton. We had vast better deployment of 90 millimeter guns, 76 millimeter guns. We could take them. It was again a matter of individual skill. But again, Korea was not a place for good sweeping tank battles. There wasn't a lot of terrain. But getting back to the ingenuity thing, Abrams understood the assignment. We had a lot of good commanders in World War II at the unit level that understood the assignment and executed the assignment with absolute aplomb. They were good at their jobs, even if they weren't professional officers and soldiers. They understood the assignment, they understood their men, they understood the equipment that they had. When you are armed with a lot of good information and you have the mental acuity to process it, you can come up with solutions you never thought possible. It's all about getting stuck in the right situation with the right things.
Yeah.
Even if we're stuck with the wrong things, we'll still try to figure it out.
Exactly.
It may take a little divine inspiration from the man upstairs, but we will do it. We will keep fighting, and we will fight tooth and nail to get the result that we want. Yeah, training and experience does help. And that's one of the reasons. Another reason why, America has always had a very good military is because we take the idea of, okay, well, we've got these really experienced sergeants, middle and senior sergeants in the ranks that have seen combat. Let's cycle them back and have them train the infantry that's just coming through. So they pass on all the tricks that they learned in battle to the people that are just coming forward now. We did the same with pilots. We did the same with ship officers in the Navy. Anything that we could do to take the experience in the field and transfer it to the ones that were just coming on the line, so they would have all the knowledge and experience of the officers and soldiers and sergeants that came before them. We did that. That's why we created the Top Gun program, so that we could take combat veterans and have them teach all the little tricks that they learned to the next generation of fighter pilots. That is and this is something that a lot of armies didn't really do until we started doing it regularly. Yeah. The Germans never really did that. They were all about, okay, keep our experienced men as close to the front lines as possible. Everybody else that gets there just have to learn on the job. The Japanese didn't believe in passing on that kind of experience. It's just, okay, here's your basic training. Just get out there and do your jam job. Just listen to your officers. Your officers are better human beings than you are. They are of the samurai class or the elevated class. They know their job. Don't worry about knowing anything. Just get out there and do as you're told. The Russians didn't really care. They cared to an extent, but they didn't really bother sending back knowledgeable people unless they displayed absolutely singular intelligence, like Mikhail Kalashnikov when he started designing guns after being wounded at Kursk. They're like, oh, hey, this guy's actually got a piece of brain. Let's pull him back for a minute and see if he can actually make something. He wasn't able to make it until after the war, the infamous AK-47, but he did come up with a couple of submachine gun designs that showed promise. They tested them. They discarded them because they were too well refined, and Russia was kind of up against the wall. But point is the Russians didn't really think about that too much either. They were another, here's your basic training, listen to the people above you, and just go and do your damn job. Which is, that's always been one of America's core strengths. When we have people that have knowledge, we tend to tell them, okay, take a break, go teach the young bucks. Teach them all your tricks. Don't just teach them the book. The book is just the starting point. It is the amassed and agreed upon knowledge that we have up to this point in time, to when this book was published. We can't just print new books every week. So you take the book and you start there, but then you teach them all the little tricks that you have learned. Every little niggling thing that you can possibly teach them that may save their life one day, or just save them a moment's discomfort. Everything from stripping down MREs the right way, in Vietnam, sticking your MRE tins in your socks, and just 1,000,001 different little tricks. This is why we win when we are engaged in combat. This is America's big strength, is that we continually pass on knowledge from not just generation to generation, but intergenerationally from people just a few years older, and this actually goes back to a personal philosophy of mine. My father and my grandfather taught me that when you learn something and your friend doesn't know it, the best thing you can possibly do to make you and your friend stronger is to pass that knowledge on. This is why I always say I try to uplift people. Everybody around here always says, oh, Cal, you're so smart. You know all these things. I didn't learn all this on my own. A lot of this is stuff that was told to me that I have then learned and tried, usually, on my own. I don't go spouting my mouth off unless I can confirm exactly what I'm talking about. And if I kind of know, like with Austin, I preface that with, this is what I know so far. I have no confirmation, but this is what I think if this is what's going on. We can even take, especially we can take that into our lives as Christians, for those of us that are. We learn the Bible, I just recently got hooked on this one passage, this one book, or this one section. This is really speaking to me at this point in my life. Let me pass this one along to you, because, not every Christian has the Bible memorized to the point where they can recall every single chapter and verse, but we can pass along little pieces of the inspiration that we get from the good book, from Scripture, and say, hey, you know what, this inspired me today. Maybe this will inspire you tomorrow, and maybe next week. Maybe it'll be a couple of months from now. It doesn't matter. But here is this thing that I have seen that has given me a boost. Here. You okay over there, Chris?
Yeah, the coffee pot went nuts this morning and overflowed, so I've been cleaning that up and getting everything set up to make coffee.
That's coffee abuse, my friend.
I didn't do it.
You've been sabotaged.
I wouldn't be saying that on YouTube. That should be some kind of violation.
My daughter was messing with the coffee pot last, so all I did was turn it on.
Yeah, it's in the 30s over here right now. I've got my window mostly closed. And one thing I like about this weather, and a lot of people will say something about it, I like to burn candles. 3 candles keeps my room perfectly warm. And at the same time, I always buy pine-scented candles, something outdoorsy. I've got another one that's like a pumpkin spice sort of candle, but it smells more like a very good smelling barn, like after you just spread fresh hay.
I'm hooked on this one. It's called Coffee and Praline.
Ooh, I've had a candle like that.
That's something that smells good, man.
Oh yeah. And then there's another one that I got at Walmart.
Andrew.
It's big and oval shaped. It was like Douglas fir or something. It was like that and cashmere together. It
Oh,
had a
sure.
very deep woodsy essence to it. And I like
Yeah.
deep woodsy essences. Of course, Mrs. Cal loved them too. It's one of the reasons why I got hooked on it is because, she was a few times when we had a little extra money, she's like, let's get a scented candle. Let's make our room not smell like gym socks.
Yeah.
And I admit it, I'm a single guy, so my room does tend to smell like dirty gym
Hey,
socks.
I'm a bachelor. I find that offensive if it don't.
So yeah,
To
so
some
now
degree. To some degree.
to some degree. So now I've got that spice candle going and 2 pine candles, so my room just smells wonderful, and it's just right at the perfect temperature, just like my coffee, which is why I'm drinking so much. It's delicious. Ugh.
Okay,
You back in the
ask
game, Chris?
here. Yeah, I'm back. So what do y'all want
What
to
you
talk
got for
about
us today?
in chat?
What's that,
I
Chris?
want to see what they want to talk about in chat.
Oh, okay.
Let them have. That's what we usually do.
Yep.
Talk, chat back and forth with them.
Oh yeah.
You kind of get
What
away
you
from
guys
that a
got
little
today?
bit. Working in the shed some more, trying to get that fixed and ready to go. We got it mostly cleaned out. Now we just gotta organize it, and I'm gonna actually set up my stuff back there. I can get the fire pit in there so that'll help warm it. So, that's the plan anyway.
Working on another carving out there, Mike?
Oh, yeah. Always. Man. Always. I found a way to get my shop warm before I come out now. I get up, I clean like my living room or my kitchen, but first I come out and turn my heater on, and I go in and clean. Now I came out and it ain't too bad. It says it's
Nice.
54, so I can deal with that. Beats the fuck out of 30 something.
That's
was
true. That's
34
true.
when I came out earlier today.
I think we got down to 38 or 39 here. I didn't look. Once it was at like 40, I was like, yep, time to shut the window all the way. Mind you,
sure. I might share. Are you kidding me?
mind you, I do like. I
What's
love
everybody in
sleeping.
the chat talking about it, Chris?
Yeah.
What's that?
What's the people in the chat want to talk about? Oh, the little people.
There's
I'm just
only
kidding,
a
y'all.
couple people there. So we'll find something to talk about until they come up with something.
All right.
I'm trying to get Mike to do a toilet troll carving.
I might have to research that a little. This one I'm working on.
Go ahead.
This one I'm working on now. I asked this girl if she had any preferences, and she wants the sunflowers purple on it.
Mm-hmm.
There you
I'm
go.
like, what the hell you think I am, Picasso? I never heard of a purple sunflower, but there are purple sunflowers. Much to my chagrin.
Yeah, that's news to me. I never knew there was purple.
Well, they're manipulated, man-made. There's actually quite a few colors. My girlfriend was telling me last night that there's one that's actually almost like a rainbow coloring. Yeah. Well, I mean that. Yeah.
Well, a lot of times
It just sounds gay to me, but
they can do
every
a
time
lot
I
of
hear
that
the word rainbow.
white lily. You take a white lily and you cut the bottom into how many colors are there? 6 on the regular rainbow.
Primary color. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you would split the bottom stem 6 times into 6 parts, and then you can dip it each one into a different color, and it'll suck that color up into that part of the flower.
No shit.
That's how they do that. That's how they do some of the rainbow colored lilies and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to do that when I was a kid. We used to do that for the holidays and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I'm kind of like a coroner. I deal with the dead part of plants.
Well, the other part is like rock candy. You ever make that homemade rock candy?
Good band. My best one of my good friends, his band is called Rock Candy. And they fucking jam.
Huh? I'll have to look
Yeah,
into them.
Everything
But,
from 70s to metal, like 90s, 80s, 90s metal.
Ooh.
Yeah, they're good, man. Rock Candy. I don't know if they're on. You can probably find them.
Okay.
Well, shit.
But you can make different types of actual rock candy with different colors.
Mm.
Just by you can buy the non-colored flavorings,
Okay.
and then you can mix that with food coloring and sugar, and you just put them in a tin, and you hang a string down into the tin, and you let it sit, and over time
Let's suck it
it'll
up.
climb up. Yep, it'll soak it up, and it'll climb and form the crystals, going up the string so that you get the whatever flavor you want and the color you want.
Yeah.
And that's
Cool.
fun to mess with people like that because you'll give them something they think it's going to be one flavor and it turns out to be something completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw an experiment for rock candy. Mind you, my teacher had to use alum so it would go faster. And it could be. He warned us not to taste it, but he said this is what rock candy would look like. This is the process for doing it. I'm just using alum because it crystallizes faster. So I have seen what it would look like. I just have not made it myself. I was one of those. My mom tried to keep too much sugar out of my mouth. I mean, she had reasons. I'm not going to deny she had reasons. But no, I never really made rock candy. Then again, I've never been too much on candy and sugar. Even though she tried to keep it out of my mouth, it was just one of those things that never really, stirred my interest. There are some candies that I will gladly eat. I mean, I fucking hate Hershey's politics right now, but if you offered me a Hershey bar, I'd probably eat it because I do like Hershey's chocolate. Just like if you offered me.
I had a white Snickers bar the other day. White chocolate. That some bitch is pretty good. And I'm not even a big Snickers fan. I was always a Three Musketeers kind of guy. That was the shit. One of them big Three Musketeers and a Mountain Dew. Brother, I could ride my bicycle anywhere.
Yeah.
I was doing burnouts on my BMX bike, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Three Musketeers was my favorite growing up. Still kind of is. But generally, I've always liked Hershey's bars. I'm okay with Snickers. I mean, I won't turn it down if you offer it to me. Twix was another one that I really liked. And I also really like Crunch bars. Those are just fun to eat.
Crackles are good too.
Yeah.
Crackles, whatchamacallits were. I remember when whatchamacallits came out, bro. I was all over them fuckers.
I like those too. I mean, I do like certain candies. Just I don't have the urge to constantly consume them. I mean, I know some.
Me neither.
I've known some people that just have to have like a candy bar a day or something like that. That's just not me. It's one of those things. I go up to the register when I'm actually at a store, and I'll look at the candy bars like, do I really want one? About half the time I don't buy one. If I do buy a candy at a store and it's not like my blood sugar is dropping and I need something right now to get home so I can have a proper meal, I usually get a Reese's peanut butter cup.
Yeah. That's how it works. That's how it worked for me the other day. Total impulse. I was buying half and half and Monster Javas, and the white Snickers bars were laying right there by the register. And I was like, white Snickers. She rang everything up, put it in the bag. I grabbed a Snickers bar. There you go.
Just gotta try it. Well, that's actually how I ended up trying the Coke Zero Oreo flavor. Is it just happened to be right there at the register, and I was like, I need some caffeine. And I do not like to drink sugary sodas because, again, I have some issues with my pancreas. It's not full-blown diabetes yet. God willing, it won't ever be. but I have to
Amen.
watch my sugars.
Amen.
So I drink zero sugar sodas when I need some caffeine. I'm out on the road. It's usually like a zero sugar Monster or a zero sugar. The ones I do best with is zero sugar Red Bulls when I can find them. But it was like, it's a Coke. I just need a little pick me up. Oh, it's Oreo flavor. What the hell? I'll give it a shot. It's $1. And I tried it, and I couldn't taste any Oreo in it. It just tasted like a slightly like if it had gone flat and then had been recarbonated. You know, like it had the flavor of like a flat soda. I could taste a little tiny bit of like a chocolate or a cream in there, but it was so vague. Like I said, it just tasted like a flat Coke Zero. And Coke Zero tastes pretty flat in the first place compared to regular Coke. So it was like, I don't see what the appeal is. I would drink it again. But if you put it next to a regular Coke Zero, I'll probably take the regular Coke Zero because this just doesn't taste quite right. But it was an impulse buy. And I can say it's not terrible. You know, it's not like a true Oreo flavor because I have done Oreo in Coca-Cola before. When I was 14, I had a huge pack of Oreos and I had a whole bunch of Coca-Colas because my stepdad decided he wanted to get rid of all the real sugar Coca-Colas from his house. So I ended up with like 22 cans of Coca-Cola, and I wasn't a huge soda drinker in the first place. So it was like, okay, I'll go through these one at a time. Well, and it got to the point where I was like, what can I do with this? Weird experiment time. You know, you're a teenager. You're like, what can we do with this? So I decided, you know what does it taste like if I dunked Oreos in Coca-Cola? So I got a small, a drinking glass. I filled it up just a short way, just enough to cover the Oreos. And I put the Oreo in there, got it all nice and soaked up, and I basically ate it with a fork. And I'm like, oh, well, it just tastes like Coca-Cola and Oreo together. It doesn't really a big deal. What I really like, though, and I do encourage people to try this one, if you get a chance and you feel adventurous, for those of you that like Dr. Pepper, try Dr. Pepper with just the cookie part of the Oreo. And I'm going to warn you right now, don't just pour a glass and start dunking your cookies in there. Pour it out into a smaller cup, just enough to get the cookie part of the Oreo in there, dunk the cookie in, get it soaked up a bit, and then eat the cookie. It comes out a lot better than you think because you get that spice hit of the Dr. Pepper, and it blends right into the chocolate taste of the Oreo. Now, with the cream part, it doesn't taste as good, at least tonight. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. Go ahead and experiment. I'm just saying, to me, having the cream part in there didn't quite taste as good. So, but dunk it in the Dr. Pepper. You get that nice little spice hit. You get the sweetness and the chocolatiness of the Oreo in there. And to me, it blends together very well. Just like Dr. Pepper and vanilla had a kind of a good combination going on there, but vanilla Coke will always have that superior vanilla to soda blend. So, Mike, I got to ask: were you a Boy Scout when you were younger?
I was not. I didn't do all that stupid shit, man. I was riding my BMX bike, smoking pot, drinking beer, getting in trouble. Getting the cops to chase us around. Yeah, I wasn't a real good kid. If I had a kid like me, I'd be in trouble because I'd have to go to the hospital and get my foot out of his ass.
Well, live and learn. I did the Boy Scout
thing. They frown on that nowadays,
Yeah, they do somewhat in certain
back in the day, all you had to say is that little son of a bitch, and the doctor'd be like, "Okay, I got you."
You didn't kill him. Discipline achieved.
Yeah. You get a new pair of boots out of the deal.
I did the Boy Scout thing. Mind you, the troop that I ended up with, they were not very serious about doing the Boy Scout thing. The fathers used this as an excuse to get away from the mothers for a while and go camping and go fishing. And when we went to Camp Macanosu in the summer, they would take it as a chance to go and get their quail guns and their shotguns out there because we had a shotgun range. We also had a single shot rifle range for us kids, very strictly controlled, I should add. We were very careful with those things. This is before I got glasses, so I couldn't shoot for shit unless I used the peep sight, which, of course, has the effect of focusing my eyes. So when I got right up on the peep sight, and I aimed carefully, I could hit where I was aiming. Because with my vision, I take my glasses off, I can't see shit past about a couple of inches in front of my face. But if I make a tiny little peep out of my fingers like this and look around, I can actually kind of see where I'm looking, and I can actually see some detail because it acts as a focus. So I was able to use the peep sight on a couple of the rifles and actually hit things. But point is they didn't really care. They really didn't. I mean, the kids were using this as an excuse to get out into nature and play around. The older kids were using this as an excuse to get away from their parents and go smoke. Mind you, they weren't really into pot, but they were into chewing tobacco, cigarettes. One of them brought liquor one time, but the dads confiscated it. And they're like, no, we're not going to go that far. No. We're going to go drink this ourselves, but you ain't getting any.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah. Thank you for your kind contribution to the dad's party fund. But yeah, they really didn't take it seriously. I was the only one that really did. So I worked as hard as I could independently, and I didn't have a father by this point. My father had passed away, so I didn't have a father to work with me. So I had to do literally everything by myself. My mom didn't really care one way or another about the scouting thing. She used it as an excuse to get rid of me, so she could go and do stuff, which, that was fine. So I did as much as I could. I read the manual as best as I could. And I was like 9-10 years old, so I couldn't quite get all the big words that were in there. But I brained out as much as I possibly could for all the merit badges that were in the basic guide. And I was constantly looking for one of the scoutmasters who could, take me for a weekend and sign off that I actually did the activity part of the merit badge, not just the classroom instruction part. I really couldn't get that done, which is, it's a shame. I made it as far as first class. I achieved first class, but I couldn't go any further because nobody wanted to help me get the badges. But overall, it was a positive experience. And now Boy Scouts doesn't exist anymore. I don't care what anybody says. It doesn't exist anymore. It is gone. Now,
it don't have the same values anymore.
No, it really doesn't. It's not Boy Scouts. It isn't. It was supposed to be a male safe space for men that wanted to teach boys how to be men. Yeah. Now it's just not. Mind you, I think honestly, and I really could touch into how culture has had an effect up to this point, but I won't. I'm going to just say, let's take all the soft and sensitive boys that can't handle that sort of thing and put them into Girl Scouts. Yeah. I'm not going to argue with them. I'm not going to argue with them having, they don't have the will. They don't have the mentality to do the manly man thing. Fine. Okay. We will work with what we have. Again, this is using the materials that we have as a society and putting them to the best possible use. Put them into Girl Scouts.
If they don't have the desire,
teach them how to bake cookies, fix clothes, sell things. My God, that's economics 101 right there. Organize animal husbandry, whatever all the other stuff that the Girl Scouts handle that the Boy Scouts don't handle. Give them a chance. Put them into Girl Scouts. If they feel excluded by even what BSA is now, that's fine. Put them into Girl Scouts. And if the girls object, well, you know what? You've got girls into Boy Scouts, so why don't we put the boys into Girl Scouts, the more sensitive boys? I don't see a problem with that. If we're going to go ahead with gender integration of the scouting organizations, then it needs to be a two-way street. Get the more sensitive boys, the ones that are not going to turn out to be manly men, like you and Chris are a perfect example, actually. Get the ones that aren't going to turn out that way, the ones that are going to be the bookish, shy, nerdy types that really don't have too much going on physically. Give them a chance to experience the camaraderie of being part of a scouting organization, the chance to learn a little bit of discipline that comes with earning all of those badges, and give them a chance to excel at something. This is all about building better human beings. Don't exclude them completely. Give them something to work for. Maybe they do.
Well, in the better human being site, I can see it, but I don't know. I still think if you got a boy, sending him into Girl Scouts, I really just don't think that's a good idea. I don't know. I mean, God made men and women different, We can't.
The problem is our society has gotten to a point where people are so comfortable that they have to create problems to solve.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is why
Yeah.
we've got gender integrated scouts now. But like I said, make it a two-way street. We've got girls going into Boy Scouts. I think it's Jamie's niece actually is in scouting.
Yeah.
And at this stage of the game, while I lament the fact that the Boy Scouts, as the Boy Scouts, no longer exist, fine, whatever. This is just what we're going to deal with. Let's take what we have and move forward with what we've got. Let's make the best use of the resources that we do have. Don't just throw out the baby with the bathwater.
I find a girl into the Boy Scouts a whole lot less troubling than a boy into the Girl Scouts. I don't know. Maybe I'm misogynistic.
They're both going to be trouble. They're both going to be trouble.
But there ain't nothing wrong. There ain't nothing wrong with a strong woman. I mean, there've been strong women in the past, and they just they don't always have to be. Some of them just weren't born to be, beautiful women, so to speak, in the eye. But
no, I get what you're aiming. I get what you're aiming at. We have.
Mike's talking about tom girls. What we call tom.
I mean, I grew up with a bunch of them. They were always hanging out with the guys. It wasn't any kind of a sexual thing at all. Still, it was just they were just if the boy could do it, she'd say I can do it. And a lot of them did. Back in the day.
Mrs. Cal was exactly the same way. She actually played football with the boys. Her parents had to throw her to school for that one. And she just said, give me a chance to try out. That's all I want. Just give me a fair chance to try out. The coach was pretty much okay with it. It was like, oh, all right. I mean, I don't think you're going to make it, but I don't see the harm in letting her try. The principal and the administration were like, no, we can't have that. Think of the liability, and girls just shouldn't be doing those sorts of things. It was the 80s. But they finally got her to try out, and the coach was like, well, shit, you're a lot better than I thought you were. I have to admit you to the team because, by all fair measures, you have outperformed many of the boys that have tried out.
Exactly.
And she became a defensive guard. She was the term she always used was nose guard, and I am not an NFL guy, so I don't know what all the positions exactly mean, but she was the one directly in front of the guy who was protecting the quarterback. And her job was to go after the quarterback. So, but she was short. I will say, my dear lovely Mrs. Cowell was a very short girl. She topped out at about 5'3". The problem is she was 5'3" by 6 foot. I mean, she was big. She was strong. She was immensely strong. The thing is, though, is she could get the leverage to get. She was short enough to get underneath the legs of the center, who's usually a really tall guy. Pop up behind him and go right for the quarterback. Of the 8 times that she was in a position to do that, she made a successful sack 6 times.
Nice.
You can't argue with those results.
No.
You can't argue with those resuls.
But Chris,
yes, sir.
Who all's in the chat today? I can't see it.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying anything at the moment, so I don't know.
Oh man.
I would expect at least some comments about Mrs. Cal playing football, especially if Cora is on.
We're out Fred doing today.
It's only showing like 4 people on watching, so I don't know who all is on.
Well, we've got 2 on Rumble and 4 on YouTube, so for a total of 6. I know Andrew's in there. I don't know what time it is over there in Australia right now. For all I know,
he's 2 hours ahead of me, so it would he's 14 hours ahead of me, so it would be about 10:13 his time, 8 p.m.
Yeah, there you go. So he's probably getting ready for bed. This is his evening show. This is our morning show. I know Thomas is in there. For all I know, he's getting ready.
Thomas had posted a video I went and checked out on that DoD live ammunition thing that he was talking about. I did check that out, watched a little bit of it, and they're Yeah, from what I can tell, they did put the objective is out there and live. So if you have to be around anyone that is in the armed forces, keep your eyes peeled and your senses heightened because yeah, according to this objective, they are allowed to.
What did I miss there?
Apparently Lloyd Austin has made it so that the armed forces are able to use their pew-pews against people.
Oh,
Now, see, that is a violation of the 1878 Posse Comitatus Act right there, if he goes ahead and does it operationally. As I was saying at the very beginning of the show, legally, you just can't do that. Legally, just now, if it's in a situation of there is a riot outside of a military base and it gets violent and they have no choice, they have to defend the equipment that's there with live ammunition. That's one thing. That's basically a massive self-defense situation at that point. On the other hand, if he goes ahead and says, okay, 82nd Airborne, I'm going to deploy you to bumfuck Georgia and I want you to kill every redneck you see, that would obviously be a massive violation. There's just shit happening for that.
That's problematic.
Yeah, very well. Problematic is actually a very good word.
I think the question we should be asking is why in the fuck are they doing this? What
we already know the answer to that. We already know the answer to that. As I was saying before, Austin, by issuing this order, is covering his bases two different ways. Number one, if Trump does get into office and he is permitted to take power, Austin can say, look, I wrote this, but I didn't actually do anything once the riot started. I didn't operationally attack any Americans. Please don't send me to jail. I'm trying to be a good boy. Obviously we know he isn't. We know he's corrupt just as much as any of them. He's a piece of crap, but whatever. He's doing it to save face. And then if Trump isn't permitted to take power and they force a civil war or some other shit, Lloyd Austin can then go to his masters and say, look, master, I did thy bidding. I have prepared things in the legal sense, to do this and get this done. Please reward me, master. Give me a good head pat or something, or a reach around.
Well, the problem that these people don't realize is even if they did help to issue in this socialistic utopia that they think it's going to be, they don't seem to be very good with history, which tells them what's going to happen to them once their people get into power.
Yeah.
And that is that the useful idiots like Austin and Antifa and all these people who go out and riot for them all the time. Guess what? You're the first ones that are going to be taken out.
Yeah, they're going to be lined up.
Well, after your
troublemakers.
After your usefulness is,
Yeah, so they don't realize that their time on Earth after that happens is very short because they don't want you there, because if you were willing to do what you did for them, once they start doing what they're going to do, which is, be socialist and piss everyone off and steal everyone's stuff. Once they start doing that and these people realize, hey, they're not giving us any favorability here, why do we help them? Mm-hmm. Then they're gonna want to fight against them, and they can't have that, so they're gonna eliminate them.
There will be multiple waves of replacements, and whether Austin was told to do this or not, if he did this of his own volition, this is him trying to cover his ass and look as useful of an idiot as possible, so that maybe he's one of the last, or he's allowed to just peacefully walk away in said possible regime. I'm just saying, from what I know of Austin, he's not really a true believer. He's more of a giant waffle and a weasel. He's a weasel waffle. He's a weasel waffle. He's looking out for number one. Yeah, he's looking out for number one. He wants to survive long enough to enjoy his retirement. That's his only goal. He doesn't really give a shit about anybody else. He doesn't give a shit about the rank and file. He doesn't give a shit about officers. He doesn't give a shit about the generals even. The only thing he's worried about is, can Lloyd Austin survive long enough to enjoy retirement somewhere? Maybe on the beach.
I would like to see him. I would like to see him retire to a nice place like Leavenworth or somewhere along those lines for treason. Maybe take a long walk off of a short pier with a nice little necktie.
All depends upon what Austin does in the next few months. Honestly, is my opinion of it. I mean, the big issue that I have with him is that he pushed the vaccine thing, and he outed himself as a massive germaphobe. During COVID, if you have seen some of the pictures of what he was wearing the full face mask. He was wearing double masks and gloves. I mean, this guy was just short of putting himself in a mop suit, which I think is absolutely hilarious. It tells me that he's a total germaphobe, and behind the scenes, he probably has some. He has some tendencies.
Here's my new COVID mask.
That's just about what he was doing. Which I found absolutely cool.
This thing's cool as hell. It wraps around your neck, and it blows air into the shield.
Nice.
So it don't fog up. I can stand here in a dust-filled room, bro. Just be breathing good air.
Nice.
Yeah.
But that's basically what Lloyd Austin was doing. He outed himself as a germaphobe and somebody with some psychological issues. I am not a professional psychiatrist or psychologist, so I cannot make a professional analysis of him. But I think he's one of those guys that, just by judging by what I have seen of him, what I know of him, he would probably be a big fan of some woman dressed in leather telling him he's a good boy and dragging him around on a leash. I'm just saying, he has those kind of tendencies that tells me he just wants to give up that fake authority that he knows he doesn't really have, and just be a little bitch for a while. That's my reading of him. And so Austin is all about himself. He doesn't really give a shit about
one
the
that needs
regime.
to be brought to justice is Mark Milley.
Oh yeah. God, no God, him. He actually said that he's afraid Trump is going to recall him to service just to court-martial him. Honestly, you know what?
I'm waiting for him to get a sex change.
Oh, he doesn't have to. You see, Rachel Levine,
I was going to say,
the rear admiral and him used to go to high school together.
No, that's Richard Levine.
On the football team.
Richard Levine.
Dickie there is a piece of shit.
Oh
He
yeah,
went and pulled his mom out of the nursing home, but left everyone else's there and told to die because of his bullshit fucking policies.
Who did that?
Levine did. Levine
I thought that was Cuomo.
Well,
Cuomo,
I'm sure a few of them did.
Cuomo, Wolf, Levine, Murphy.
Up there in New York, where Trump set in a naval medical ship, to put people with COVID in. Well, then Cuomo put all these fucking COVID people in an old age home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What an ass.
Cuomo alone killed at least 15,000 seniors.
Oh yeah.
Easily.
And here's the thing. They were warned by the association that governs the homes that they were not supposed to put people in the homes because of it would kill them.
Yeah.
And they went
they needed somebody to tell them that.
But yeah, no, Milley and Levine are old high school sweethearts, the two of them.
They played football together in Massachusetts.
Legit. Yeah,
at
legit.
A private
they went to high school together. Yeah, they went to high school together. So the two of them.
Ain't that sweet?
Yeah, that's my whole thing is that Milley doesn't need a sex change because Milley's partner already kind of sort of had one. So they already got that dynamic going.
Gotcha.
So, but we all know which one of them is the pitcher and which one of them is the catcher. We're just not going to go into that for the same reason we don't go into the Obama's bedroom life.
Yeah.
It's just too horrible to think about.
Don't be picking on Michael now. You'll get upset.
Didn't Barack threaten to get Mike after the black men because if they don't start supporting Kamala?
Something like that.
Did I see that?
Something like that. Something like that.
But he said, "You're be glad that Michael's not here, Michelle's not here, whatever you want to call her."
Yeah, right.
Because out of everybody in that administration, that's the only black man there ever really was.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Barack is half, so he doesn't count. Especially, and I found this hilarious, when he was trying to tell the brothers to go support Kamala, they all told him, "No, fuck off. You ain't even one of us. You ain't even close, and she ain't either."
Yep. I've been seeing a lot of those videos.
Absolutely fucking wild. I love it. The mass rejection of the new Democrat message, and I say new Democrat message because it wasn't this way 30 years ago. The mass rejection of this message is the one thing that makes me smile. Literally everybody from every demographic is waking up and realizing they were sold a bill of goods. They have been cheated. They have been lied to. The black community is waking up to realize that the Democrats have been actually the ones that have been keeping them down.
Really is about time.
Yeah. They've been the ones pushing them to the plantation with food stamps and Section 8 and all this other crap and every possible resource that they can use to suppress the black population up to and including, embracing abortion. Because even the woman who, pushed for abortion and become legal even said that her goal was to decrease the number of black baby births in the United States by as much as humanly possible. And she was
not just that, but poor people too.
Well, yeah, there was some social
whites as well.
Yeah, but she had a special hard on for black folks. Period. It was a little bit of social Darwinism there. But
I mean, if you go back, she was actually an honorary Nazi member because Hitler and his minions decided that she was her eugenics was worthy of it, and that's what they based their eugenics policy off of, was her teachings.
Yep. Gotta admit, she was a smart cookie. She's just an evil one. That's the cookie you leave on the plate, but you still respect the fact that it was well made.
No, that's the cookie you throw on the floor and stomp all over and throw in the trash. But in my opinion,
I know. You just don't eat the cookie. You just get rid of it. But the point is that the black community is starting to realize the Democrats have been the ones that have been keeping them down all this time. They're the ones that keep fomenting, black on white racial tensions. They are the ones that, they go, "Oh, you poor African Americans" on one side, and then the other side of their mouth are saying, "Lock the fuckers up."
Well, I mean, I can't believe it took them that long. Like every 3.5 years, it's, "Oh, we got to do this and we're going to do that," and then you don't hear shit for another 3.5 years. And then all of a sudden back out again it comes. "We're going to do this for you. We're going to do that."
The problem really started with Lyndon Johnson. And there is a famous quote by him that resurfaced fairly recently. When he signed the Civil Rights, I can't say the full thing, but I can say it this way. He said that upon signing the Civil Rights Act, I will keep those people voting Democrat for the next 200 years. Now, the ones that were initially benefiting from this Civil Rights Act, they all of a sudden, they became hardcore Democrats because, look, the Democrats did this for us. So let us trust the Democrats.
Which is wrong.
Yeah, it's wrong.
Democrat
but
that signed it was Johnson.
Yeah.
When
but
you go to Congress and look, every single fucking Democrat was against it, voted against it.
Yeah. But Johnson was playing the long game, and got to give credit to him for that. He was pretty much right. The generation that initially benefited from this, and even right down to the young ones, became very loyal Democrats on that day, as Johnson predicted. This was all part of his plan. And once he did that, and then they did everything else that they did throughout the 70s and 80s to destroy the black nuclear family as much as they possibly could. And kept them scattered, kept them disorganized, kept them from realizing what was really going on. Every little act that they did, that they have done for the last 40 to 50 years or so, to disenfranchise the African American community in the United States, they did very well. So you have the older ones that are more willing to vote, that will vote Democrat because they remember 1968. Then you have the younger ones that don't really, because of everything that's been done to them and, done about them to contain them and, keep them on this plantation, they don't know any better. They haven't had access to the kind of, or the desire really, to get the kind of information that they needed to realize that they've been cheated. And then, you've got the dichotomy of the older loyal ones who may have the knowledge to realize that they're being took, but at the same time, they have grown so dependent on the government handouts and everything else that the government has done to keep them on that plantation. They've grown reliant upon the gilded cage. They don't want to take the risk of voting Republicans. They're afraid that the gravy train's going to end and whatever else, and they may not be in a position to do anything about it. So they're terrified for their own security, and they're only thinking of themselves because that's the way they've been penned in to think.
Yeah.
And then now what has happened with Donald Trump's first administration, all this stuff that he did for the African American community, the thing that he did for that one traditionally black college, all that stuff that he has done to break those chains, to break those bonds. That
the First Step Act.
Yeah, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And then when Biden went in and reversed all of that, that was the very start of a wake-up call. That was the very beginning. And Trump has
another thing. In 2020, Ice Cube, if most people don't realize this because it was suppressed bad by the media, but Ice Cube went to both parties and said, I have a plan. This is what I want for our community, and laid it out. He called it the Platinum Plan, and it was to get government funding to help with black entrepreneurs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was a good plan.
Yeah.
And Trump said he would meet with him. Biden's administration said, well, we'll talk to you after we win the election.
Yeah.
They win the election. They never talked to him.
Yeah.
They never went back.
Go ahead.
They think that they own their vote. And I hope that enough of them wake up that they can smack the shit out of them this time and say, you don't own nothing. You need to earn it.
That's the other thing that I wanted to bring up is that the Democratic Party has done a very, very good job of making people think of their race. We're talking about the African American community. We shouldn't be talking about them like that. There was a time, and I remember it. Thank you. There was a time, and I remember it, back in the 80s, in the 90s. We didn't care. We just didn't care. Oh, my best friend happens to be black. I don't care. I'm not looking at his skin. Yeah. I'm looking at him. He's good at this and that, and I'm good at this and that, and we get along. We have these common interests. Doesn't matter if he's black. But the Democrats have done a very good job of keeping us segmented by race. We're talking about the African American community, and Chris is right. We should be talking about the American community, all of us, not this, that, and the next thing based on race or sexual orientation or this or whatever. We should be thinking in terms of we are one community. We are Americans. We are United Statesicans. That is us.
Well, that's the one point that the world really needs to fucking get squared in on. It wasn't white people that enslaved them. It was politicians. They just happened to be white. I mean, that shit just pisses me off so bad. It's not that they were white. It's that they were politicians, Democrats.
Powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. And they wanted you to do what they didn't want to do. Yeah. Yeah. And whether they were white or black, they'll sell you. They'll buy you. I mean, color didn't matter when it came to buying a slave. Did he weren't good?
Well,
Was he a
Yeah.
troublemaker?
here's the thing: the word slave comes from Slav, and the Slav people are white.
And here's another thing that often gets overlooked, and it's something I didn't learn until I moved to Oklahoma. Did you know the Native Americans owned lots and lots of black slaves?
Oh yeah.
Ooh, there's something that doesn't get discussed very often. They
Yeah.
owned lots of them, and they were some
Well,
of the worst slave masters.
And they
Yeah.
owned lots of other Native American slaves as well, because they would go to war with each other, and they would fight with each other, and that was just part of the spoils of war, was that you
Yep.
got to. All right, you need to go up here. Thank you.
You got to
Need to
keep
get rid of
the enemy prisoners of war as your slaves. And yeah, so, that's something that a lot of people are starting to wake up and realize, is that it doesn't matter who was what, it was what they were doing. Their position of power was what mattered. And the position of power is what matters now. It's what they're doing to us now. It doesn't matter what color their skin is, what their religion is. It matters the fact that they have power, and they are using that power to try and turn all of us into plantation slaves. They're trying to use that power to turn all of us, the whole pod thing and all that
And
sort
the
of stuff.
global slaves is what they want us to be.
They want a serf class. They want to bring back neo-feudalism, basically. They want us as serfs, and they want to be the ones that are rich and powerful and controlling us. That is their main goal.
Here's something that, especially over here, that people don't realize because they don't pay attention to the world stage. And that is, they rolled out these digital wallets over in India back in a couple years ago. And what happened was, the people lowest on the class totem pole over there did not have access to the internet. They didn't have phones. They didn't have, computers. They couldn't access their wallet.
Yep.
So when it came time for them to go get their rations from the government wouldn't recognize them. Hundreds of thousands of people starved to death because of that.
Yep. It's just another
They
example
want
of
to bring
elitism.
that here.
Interestingly enough, on the subject of digital currencies, Norway, which used to be, up until a few days ago, the most digital currency integrated country in the West, passed a law saying that all businesses are required to accept paper cash. In
Our
other words,
government we have that law here, but they're not abiding by it.
well, yeah,
Oh, Biden.
they're not abiding by it. Yeah, that's a good one.
Ironically, so perfect too.
It works. It works. We all know what they're up to.
Jay was practicing being a puppet master the other day with Kermit.
Oh yeah. Well, that's actually a very good representation of what they want to do. I mean, the ones that have the real power are using the rest of our politicians as puppets. They're toys to play with, and then we're worthless. We're absolutely worthless. When the Soviets and the communists say "eat the rich," they're aiming too low. They need to aim at the ones at the absolute top. We're talking the highest 1/1,000,000th of 1%. The richest, say, 600 people on the planet. Those are the rich that need to be eaten, because they're the ones that have been organizing and playing with people's lives for time immemorial. And because our world has gotten so globalist lately, in the last 30, 40 years, their amount of control has just increased. And it continues to increase with every anti-freedom law or measure that gets passed. They're the ones
they're the ones that fund both sides of war, so they win no matter what.
Yeah. They're the ones that we need to be looking at. They're the ones that we need to direct our ire at. And for the longest time, people didn't even realize that these people were doing anything more than buying giant freaking yachts and huge collections of paintings. They didn't realize that these people were actually mobilized to turn us into serfs.
Dave, can you see the chat?
Yeah, they ain't Biden by it. Love it. Yeah, well, it's true. It's true. But people have started to realize that now. They started to recognize who the masters of their masters really are. So they're starting to reject the people that call themselves our masters and are embracing the people that call themselves our servants. Trump, he refers to himself as a public servant.
And he is. He's going in. Trump is the only president, or hell, for that matter, and the only politician that's gotten into office in the last 20 years that hasn't come out richer than what he went in.
Yeah. They all do that. And it was not Herbert Hoover. It was Truman that said that anybody who gets rich in politics is a crook. He was right.
Was one of the original, was the one that actually, was the epitome of what a president should be. He served, and then he went home.
Mm-hmm.
And he lived on his farm until he died.
Yep.
That's what it was supposed to be. You go, you serve your time, you try and make life better for the people that you're representing. That's what you're supposed to be doing here, fuckers.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow it got switched around, and you get in there, and now you think, oh, well, I'm fucking better than everybody, that all of you. That's why I'm here. No, you're here because we fucking put you there.
Yeah.
Don't forget that. I'm really, 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 I don't know.
We're
really
upset for the.
running.
Well, you know what? I'd vote for you if I could.
I do.
You know, I saw 3 of 7s. You know who I mean, right, Chris? That Navy guy. 3 of 7 projects.
Oh, I've heard of that before.
I've not heard of that one.
Chad Wright. He was the one he was pretty cool there for a while till he started bashing Trump supporters.
That fucking idiot.
I saw he had a post on yesterday that he's running for president. I clicked on it just to hit LOL and got the hell out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't, if you want to run for president, you cannot bash the people that you need to vote for you.
No.
Not work.
That's called stupid.
If I was to run for president right now, the first thing that I would call for is unity. And I would sit there and I would try and figure out practices that we can work together on to bring people back together, to bring them back to the fucking center.
Americanism.
Yes.
And, first things first would be the education system would get a complete and total fucking overhaul.
Oh, yeah. Then the food industry.
Oh, God, food industry.
Yeah. That would be the food and pharmaceutical.
That would go hand in hand with the education, If these kids would eat better, they'd think better.
Yep.
Well, and the thing is we need to get fucking pharmaceutical advertising off of television, out of there.
100%.
The only place that you should be advertising pharmaceuticals is to the doctors, and let them decide if they want to use them with their patients.
Yeah, because all these idiots think they're self-diagnosed. Oh, well, I need that. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Another thing that'd be good is they've recently found out that fluoride in the water has dropped kids' IQ points by up to 5 to 6 points.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Get that out of the water. Get it out of the water. I mean,
I understand back in the day they thought fluoride was good for you, and in small doses it is good for your teeth.
Yeah.
That's why you go for a cleaning at the dentist. Let them do it. But yeah, fluoride change.
They're not learning from their mistakes. It seems like a lot of times.
Oh no, they made this mistake on purpose. One of the effects the dose of fluoride in tap water has is it has a mild antidepressant effect. It's
Well,
basically a liquid happy pill.
technically, it's not a mistake. you
Yeah,
know?
it's not a mistake. They knew damn well what they were doing. They
Yeah,
probably
we're
didn't
trying.
expect it would. Yeah, they probably didn't
Yeah.
expect it would have quite the impact that it did, because these people are generally idiots. They're generally very stupid about what they do and how they do it.
No doubt.
So they probably thought, oh, you know what, it'll just make everybody a little bit happier. Maybe they'll be a little more complacent and that sort of thing. And then they found out later, oh shit, it was dropping fucking IQ points left and right. I think we went overboard, boys. Oh well. No, who cares? We drink bottled water anyway. It doesn't have fluoride in it.
And now the courts are telling people that they're not allowed to change it. The EPA wants to take the fluoride out, and the court's fucking telling them they can't.
There was a town in Texas that removed the fluoride from its water just recently. We won't see the effects of that for some time, but it's a good first step. That's the other thing that the Trump movement, the MAGA movement, has really done, is it's gotten at least some people refocused on more local politics. Let's start by replacing our county boards. Let's start by replacing our city leaders,
school boards,
school board, water board, county administrations, and work up from there. And honestly, that's one of the ways to do it. I'm just glad that we have a movement that has decided to basically perform a pincers maneuver, not just strike up from the grassroots, but strike down from the top. Get senators and good senators in place, good Congress critters, and
unfortunately here we won't have that either of them, because I'm under the no-brainer guy. Shit, now my brain just fucking walked out.
Shapiro?
Well, I'm under him as a governor. He's a piece of shit too.
Yeah, Shapiro.
But I'm under but my senator is fuckface.
Old
Fetterman. That's Fetterman.
Oh yeah, you're in Fetterman's district, huh?
Uncle Fetterman.
And the Republican that's in the House isn't any fucking better. He's a fucking snake. He sits there and pretends that he's a conservative, but then he votes with the fucking Democrats 90% of the time. And he tries to hide it, but I go and look and see, and I fucking call him out on it.
Well, if you're serious about running for office, I recommend you try and get a local office first. Don't aim too high. Don't aim too high. Aim high enough that you can get some visibility. Do a term of service and see if it agrees with you, or if you can stand it without trying to kill everybody around you in utter Sasquatch rage and frustration. And then see if you can aim higher. State House, go for that. Work your way up the ladder a little bit. It doesn't matter if you jump a few rungs. Just don't aim for the top posts right away. The important thing is to get your feet wet and get a taste of things and see if you can actually stand them. Because I know you pretty well, Chris. I'm not going to say I know you as well as somebody that's known you for 30 years, somebody that's known you all your life, but I know you well enough. You got a temper. And I know that you can hold that temper in check sometimes, but if you get constantly exposed to the negativity that is elected politics enough, I have this feeling that you are just going to either, get up and have to walk out of something to avoid violence, or somebody going to be catching big fat Sasquatch hands. I just got that feeling. That's why I want you to aim for like a county board position or something and see if you can actually stand these people. Because whatever you get in that position is enough of a taste.
I promise you that.
Well, it'll be an exciting adventure. I'm just saying, you get a taste of like county politics or local politics, that'll prepare you for what it's like in the big C. Because that's just a taste. That is a taste of the kind of corruption and bullshit you're going to see the higher up you go. It's literally like a branching root. Start at the tip, see if you can stand the taste of the tip, then move all the way up and take a big chunk. And eventually you work your way up the tree that way.
Yeah.
Work your way up the tree of power. Because, you've got good solutions. Back pretty much everything that you want to do. You've got good ideas. I'd like to see a lot of them get implemented. Like I said, start someplace small. See if you can actually stand the taste of things. And if you can't, There's no shame in bowing out and saying these people are too goddamn evil. I can't stand it. I can't do it. You know, I know you'll serve out. Yeah.
Take my own private priest.
Something like that. Something like that.
Bless the chambers every time we go in. Watch everybody cringe as as the cross goes by them.
Or better yet, get a whole parade. Get a whole parade. Get yourself a priest, a Hindu, an imam, Native American, religious leader, all of them. Just get them all together and have them do a parade through the place, doing doing their own blessings. See how they react to that shit.
I'd be thrown out.
Oh, don't forget getting a rabbi in there too. Got to get the Jews involved. Get them all in there. Just do a whole parade. Have them all bless the chambers every time you guys sit down. And they can't even scream at you for being, discriminatory. Oh no, I've got every major religion I can lay my hands on right here. How am I discriminating? I'm saying let us look towards a higher path for all of us, no matter what your personal convictions are, no matter what your faith is.
Thank you for saying that, because I got something I got to address before we go.
Go ahead.
I am going to kind of go on a rant here, y'all. So apparently in the religious movement right now, this was a United Methodist female preacher, priest. And she was holding up a sign saying, "I am a Muslim. We're all Muslims."
The fuck?
And I'm thinking, you are a blasphemous bitch who should not be in a position that you're in, because you are leading people to hell. And
at the very least, it's an act of heresy.
I find it very hard not to see that we're if we're not already in Revelations, that we're entering Revelation, because that is part of Revelation, is that you will deny your faith. You will do heretic prophecies.
Yeah.
And we're there. Mm-hmm. You have preachers who are supposedly men and women of God, which, first off, a woman should not be a preacher if you go by the actual teachings of the Bible. I don't care who likes it and who doesn't. If you go by the teachings of the Bible, women should not be preachers. That's just the way it is. Secondly, you cannot go around telling people that they can be gay or lesbian or trans or whatever the hell you want to say, and tell them that they can go to heaven. They cannot. I'm sorry. Read the Bible. It tells you directly in there. Man shall not lay with man.
Amen.
Okay. Look what he did to Sodom and Gomorrah.
Mm.
And the people that he saved from Sodom and Gomorrah even had consequences. Lot's wife and his family were told, flee the city, do not look back. Lot's wife looked back. What happened? She was turned into a pillar of salt. So I'm just so tired of seeing so many false teachings, and people just seem to go along with it. They seem to be, just go along with it because we're Christians. We can't say things. We can't have our stances because then we're being hateful. Bullshit. If you love your friends, you love your family, and you love the people around you like God tells you to, you tell them the truth. You don't fucking lie to them.
Exactly.
So anybody watching this that gets mad at me, I'm sorry that you're mad at me, but the truth hurts sometimes. Hopefully you get over it and we can talk about it later. If not, more power to you. See ya. That doesn't mean that I don't still love you. That doesn't mean that I'm not still here if you need to talk to me. It just means that if we talk, I'm going to tell you the truth.
Yep.
Now, if you sit there and tell me that you're not interested in the truth, I'm not going to waste my time. We move on. We can still be friends, but I just accept the fact that you're going to hell, and there's
Mhm.
nothing I can do to help you. You know, the Bible doesn't say go and beat your friends over the head and make them become a Christian. God wants you to come with free will.
Mhm.
Now, Islam, on the other hand, tells you that if you do not convert, then they are to kill you. Um, so yeah, I have a problem with people telling me that Islam is a religion of peace.
Oh, it's a
No, not
religion of
really.
peace, all right. Things get very peaceful when they're the only ones left.
Yeah, well, that seems to be what they're hoping for. They're hoping to um, basically overpopulate the world with their religion.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm not going to sugarcoat shit for people.
Yeah.
I never have. I never will. I don't care. I and I do it out of love because I care. I want you to
Mhm.
hear the truth. I want you to know the truth.
Yep.
So, but I had that you brought that up and it just popped in my head again. So I had to address
It's
that.
fine.
So,
It's fine. I was hoping to get some kind of a reaction out of you on that front. I know you have very strong opinions on that front, and I do enjoy hearing them.
well,
Some people might not, but you know what? Too bad.
well,
That's why we have a show. You are free to
people
come and leave as you please.
don't like my stance on Catholicism either. I don't believe that God made it so that you can do whatever the hell you want. Go talk to a preacher and say, "Oh, Father, I have sinned and I did this and I did this," and then he's like, "Oh, well, go do 1,000 Hail Marys." The hell, Hail Marys aren't going to make up for your sin.
No.
Confession is supposed to be about changing. So
Yeah.
that's something that has been really lost in the Catholic tradition. You're not supposed to go and just confess out of habit. You are supposed to go to a priest, and when you have had a moment of realization, look back at the things that you've done and realize how horrible they were, how bad you have been. You go to the priest and say, "Father, I have sinned. I have done bad. I am not just seeking the Lord's forgiveness, but that is one step towards changing what I have done so that I can be a better person." The whole ceremony of confession and absolution has been turned into almost a parody of what it should be. It should
Well,
be,
it's been turned into the same thing as Christians who sit there and go around and say, "Oh, well, all you have to do is say
yeah,
a prayer and you're saved." No, that's not how it works.
yeah. No,
When you
Well,
give your
and you have to quit doing
yeah,
what
yeah.
can't
The
go in
the
there and
whole
apologize. Can't go in there and apologize or repent for smoking crack, and then go right out and buy yourself a nice rock.
exactly. That was the whole point of confession, is that it
Yeah.
is I am changing these behaviors moment. It is supposed to be a very personal, very emotional thing. Priest is supposed to be there to give you a little bit of guidance and say, "Okay, well, you have done these terrible things, my son. We recognize this. Now, go apologize to the Lord. Tell Dad that you're sorry. And do this as a demonstration of how sorry you are." Now, while you are doing this, you are supposed to inflect and think about these acts that you have decided you want to come to the priest and to the Lord to change. You're supposed to sit and think about what you have done. That's why they assign you to do so many Hail Marys, because eventually the act of saying those prayers just becomes a monotonous task. It becomes
You
something
don't
that
want
you
to do it
shut
again.
off. Yeah, well, not just that, but it is something you're supposed to just shut your brain off, say the words, and then start thinking, "Okay, I have done this. I have done these horrible things. Not only am I seeking forgiveness, but this is how I'm going to make sure that I don't do these things again." The
And now
act
here's
of
the other thing I'm going to touch on
go ahead.
is the church. First off, is not the building is not the church. The church is the people inside
Yes.
that make up the congregation, and that congregation is supposed to be trying to better the community around them.
Yes.
you are supposed to do outreach. You are supposed to, even if they don't come to your church, you are supposed to leave them in a better place than what you met them.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that is going and helping them put a new roof on their house if they need one, or if they need a little bit of gas to get them to doctor's appointments or to work or something, you help them out. Now that doesn't mean that you become a crutch for them, because I've seen people who have used churches as a crutch where they'll go and continue to go back to get services from them that they should not be going back all the time. They should be changing their own lives. So, I mean, you have to walk the fine line there. But I see a lot of churches, especially these fucking mega churches. Oh my.
Yeah.
I need to not go there today. We don't have time for that. Maybe we'll touch on that this afternoon.
Good idea.
But I've been watching a lot of videos who have been going. They're preachers who are going after Robert Copeland, and the like of them, and just the stupid shit that they've said over the years. Like God wants them to have this big, beautiful, multi-million-dollar plane to fly around the world in. And yeah, I agree, Dave. Dave said I was very disappointed in the churches during the cough. Very hurt, actually. Yeah. The only churches that I saw standing up during that were Jewish, the synagogues. They were pushing back.
Against what?
Against the lockdowns, telling them they couldn't get together to worship.
Yeah, Freedom Biker Church was still open.
Religion back in the day was captured. It was almost like our government now.
Yeah.
Only certain people had the Bible. Only certain people could read the Bible. And those people would tell the congregation what to think, how to think, what they were supposed to be doing. And a lot of those people turned out to be greedy fuckers who abused their congregations. And yes, that made the church look bad. But as printing presses became more popular and more people learned how to read, and people started seeing, hey, this isn't what you were saying, now what the hell's going on? The congregation is also responsible for keeping the higher ups in check, making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, not doing the stupid shit that they're not supposed to be doing. Jimmy Swaggart, Jim Baker, those.
Hey, I'm out of here. Y'all have a great day, man.
Yep.
All right,
I gotta be going too.
Later, y'all.
We're gonna wrap this up.
Y'all take care.
Yeah, we'll talk about this at 4 o'clock. So, but y'all have a great day. We'll talk soon, and be safe. Thanks.
Yep.
All right. Later.